A bookkeeper named Ruth Delaney sat down on a red vinyl stool at the Woolworths lunch counter on East Douglas in Wichita, Kansas, in the fall of 1955, and ordered the same meal she ordered 3 days a week for 14 years. A grilled cheese on white bread, a slice of hot apple pie from under the glass dome on the back counter, a chocolate malt in a tall metal cup with a red and white striped straw pushed down through a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top. The whole plate came to 65 cents. She paid with 3/4 and left the dime on the counter. There were 48 stools at that lunch counter. Every one of them was full by noon. Today, most Americans have never eaten a meal cooked in front of them at a counter by a woman in a white paper hat for under $1. We eat out of bags now. We eat in the car. We eat what a machine assembled 2 states over and a heat lamp finished. But here's the twist. The record now says the food Ruth Delaney ate off that dime store counter, the cheese she watched melt on the griddle, the pie somebody's mother baked at 4 in the morning, was better than what a chain sells you today for $15. They didn't outlaw the counter. They just made sure it went dark. Some of what I'm counting down off that lost menu would turn a modern stomach today, and some of it a university quietly confirmed beats what a chain sells you for $12. Number 14. The health department wouldn't let a lunch counter serve it today the way the old grill man did. Number 6. Penn State said the fat they fried it in was healthier than the stuff that replaced it. And number 3. Almost nobody alive still knows how to make it the counter way. I'm not getting to it till we're most of the way down this list. None of these dishes disappeared because they quit tasting good. They disappeared because somebody got rich the day Woolworths went dark and you started buying dinner out of a freezer instead of eating it off a counter. That's not on you, friend. They were good at selling. Before we go on, there's something coming for this country, and the news won't say a word about it till it's already on your doorstep. It comes down to one number: 3 days. That's what the stores hold for you. My grandfather Eli's pantry held a winter, and the difference was never money, it was knowing. I'm Silas Mercer, 7th generation on this ridge, and before Eli died, he made me swear that knowing wouldn't die with me. So I set it down, 904 pages of it in one book, silasmercer.shop. Links below. All right. Back to it. All right, number 25. You walked into a Woolworths in 1955, and the first thing you saw down the counter was 3 glass domes lined up along the back rail, and under one of them was a whole apple pie, still warm, cut in 6. A slice cost you 15 cents. A cup of coffee to go with it, a nickel. 20 cents total. And the counter girl slid it across on a thick white plate with a fork already on the saucer. The apples were sliced by hand in the back that morning by a woman named Alma or Louise or Marge, and the crust was cut with lard because lard was 3 cents a pound and butter was 30. Then in 1949, Sara Lee started selling frozen pie to supermarkets, and every grocery store in America stopped baking. By the 1970s, the domes were empty. Today, a slice of apple pie at a fast casual chain runs you $7, and it came off a truck. The old counter recipe is nothing but 2½ cups of flour, a cup of lard, cold water, 6 tart apples, 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of flour to thicken, cinnamon, and a hot oven at 400 until the juice bubbles through the vents. 15 cents. Warm. Under glass. Now it's a photograph. That one they just stopped baking. The next one, they replaced the cheese. Number 24. 2 slices of soft white bread, 2 slices of real American cheese cut off a block behind the counter, butter on the outside, pressed onto a hot, flat-top griddle till the bread went gold and the cheese ran out the side. 25 cents in 1955. Came with a pickle spear and a handful of chips. Then in 1949, Kraft patented individually wrapped Kraft singles. And by the 1960s, the cheese on your grilled cheese wasn't cut off a block anymore. It came out of plastic. The counter cooks lost the one thing they'd been doing well for 40 years, melting real cheese on real bread in front of a real customer. Now a fast casual chain in Nashville will sell you a gourmet grilled cheese for $14, and it's the same sandwich Ruth Delaney ate for a quarter. Real method: 2 tablespoons of softened butter, 2 slices of white bread, 1.5 ounces of real American cheese off a deli block, medium heat, 3 minutes aside. That's it. Nobody sold you a better sandwich. They sold you a worse one and charged you 50 times more for it. Butter, bread, cheese, griddle, fed a bookkeeper, cost a quarter. Number 23. This is the one on every thumbnail your grandmother ever saw. A tall silver cup, sweating cold. 3 scoops of hard vanilla ice cream, cold whole milk, a heavy pour of chocolate syrup, and a tablespoon of Carnation malted milk powder. Spun on a Hamilton Beach mixer bolted to the back counter for about 90 seconds until it climbed the sides of the cup. Poured into a fluted glass, extra scoop on top. Red and white striped paper straw pushed down through the ice cream. 30 cents, 1955. Then in 1961, Ray Kroc rolled out McDonald's standardized shake program. And by 1968, the shake you bought from a chain wasn't ice cream and milk anymore. It was soft-serve mix out of a machine, thickened with carrageenan. Woolworths kept spinning them the old way till the counters closed, but the market was gone. Here's the vindication. Shake Shack and Five Guys today sell hand-spun shakes, their words, for $7 to $9. And they're advertising the exact technique the Woolworths counter girl used for a nickel over a quarter. The record caught up. The counter's gone. 3 scoops, whole milk, a striped straw. That was a shake. Number 22. A pink hot dog, plumped on the flat top till the skin snapped, laid into a soft split-top bun that had been buttered and toasted face down for 30 seconds on the same griddle. Yellow mustard from a squeeze bottle. Sweet green relish from a stainless steel well. 15 cents. You ate it standing up if the stools were full. Then the interstate came through, and the national hot dog chains, Nathan's expanding out of Coney Island, Sonic drive-ins spreading through Oklahoma in the 1960s, and the ballpark concessions locking up the sports market, pulled the hot dog off the Main Street lunch counter and put it in a paper sleeve at a highway exit. Today, that same hot dog at a stadium is $6. The counter version was better because the bun was toasted, not steamed to death in a plastic warmer. Safe method: a fully cooked frank simmered 3 minutes or griddled till the skin marks. A split top bun with a smear of butter face down on medium heat for 30 seconds. Refrigerate the franks and reheat to steaming to knock down any listeria risk. 15 cents. Toasted bun, never soggy. Nobody serves it right anymore. First pattern break. Here's where it stops being quaint and starts being the reason somebody got rich. Every one of those 4 dishes was made in front of a customer by a woman who knew her name for under 30 cents. Woolworths ran 48 stool counters in over 1,000 American main streets. Then between 1962 and 1997, 3 things happened. Kmart, Walmart, and Target all opened their first stores in 1962, same year, and pulled the foot traffic out from under the dime store. The frozen food industry pulled the meal off the counter and into your freezer. And on July 17, 1997, the last Woolworths in America closed in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. 48 stools gone. Now watch what falls next. Number 21. 4 hard-boiled eggs chopped fine with a pastry cutter. A third cup of mayonnaise, a spoon of yellow mustard, salt, pepper, a little chopped celery for crunch. Spread thick on 2 slices of soft white bread with the crust left on. A Woolworths menu from around 1960 lists it at 30 cents. A silver quarter and a nickel. That's about $3 in today's money. Then the supermarket deli counter opened up in the 1970s, and Kraft, Hellmann's, and the grocery chain private labels started selling tubs of pre-made egg salad. By the 1990s, no counter in America was mashing eggs by hand for a sandwich anymore. Today, an artisan cafe in Brooklyn will charge you $9 for the same sandwich. And mine tastes better because Eli taught me to fold, not stir. Safety note, and I'll be straight. This is the one part you don't skip. Egg salad with mayonnaise goes bad fast. 2 hours out of the fridge is the outside limit. The counter girls knew it. That's why the tubs were rotated every 4 hours behind the counter. You do the same at home. 4 eggs, a little mayo, soft bread. $3 now for what used to be 30 cents. Number 20. Leftover cooked ham from the roast beef end of the counter, chopped fine on a wooden board, mixed with mayonnaise, a spoon of sweet pickle relish, a little grated onion, spread on white bread. 35 cents. Genius thrift. The ham that didn't sell as a plate on Monday came back as a sandwich Tuesday. Nothing wasted. Then Hormel and Oscar Mayer rolled out packaged, sliced, uniform lunch meat through the 1950s and 1960s, and Americans stopped seeing ham as something you carved off a bone. It became something that came out of plastic. The lunch counters lost the thrift math. You can't make ham salad if you don't have leftover ham to chop. And if you're buying packaged deli ham to make it, you might as well just eat the packaged ham. Real method. 1½ cups of finely chopped cooked ham, ½ cup of mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons of sweet relish, 2 tablespoons of minced onion, black pepper, chill an hour, serve on soft white. Safety. Only fully cooked ham, kept cold, discarded after 2 days. Ham, mayo, relish, bread. Fed a family off Sunday's roast. That one they just replaced the meat. The next one, they replaced the fat. Number 19. A 1/4 pound of ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, an egg, a little grated onion, salt, pepper, patted into an oval and browned on the flat top. Brown gravy made from the pan drippings, 2 tablespoons of flour, and beef stock. Served over mashed potatoes with a scoop of buttered peas and a dinner roll. 70 cents in 1959, a working man's lunch. Then in 1953, Swanson launched the frozen TV dinner, and Salisbury steak was the first star of the aluminum tray. By 1959, they were selling 70 million trays a year. The counter version, hand-formed and gravied to order, couldn't compete with something you thawed in your own oven for 49 cents. The lunch counter Salisbury steak died in the freezer aisle. The American Heart Association in 2019 warned specifically about the ultra-processed foods that replace this kind of scratch-cooked plate. The frozen tray, the sodium load, the additive list a page long. The counter version was a patty, a pan, and an onion. Cook the beef to 160 degrees internal. That's the whole safety catch. A quarter pound of beef, real gravy, real potatoes, 70 cents. Fed you till supper. Number 18, a 4-ounce beef patty, hand-formed by the grill man, pressed onto the flat top with a spatula until it hissed. Salt and pepper only. Dressed on a soft bun with a slice of raw white onion, a leaf of iceberg, 2 pickle chips, a smear of yellow mustard. 20 cents in 1955. A dime in the 1930s. That's where the name came from. Then McDonald's franchised out of San Bernardino starting in 1955, and Burger King followed in 1954 out of Miami. And by 1965, there were 700 McDonald's locations selling a 15-cent burger under golden arches. Woolworths kept grilling them the old way, hand-formed and made when you ordered, but the volume game was over. Modern Vindication is right on the menu of every smash burger joint that's opened in the last 5 years, charging $12 for what the Woolworths counter did for a quarter. 4 ounces of 80/20 ground chuck, hot griddle, press it once, cook to 160 internal. That's the whole recipe. Nobody made a better burger than a dime store counter cook who'd been doing it for 30 years. They just made a cheaper one to sell. Number 17, Fridays at Woolworths, especially in Catholic neighborhoods, the grill man ran a fish sandwich, a piece of cod or haddock, dredged in flour, dipped in egg, breaded with cornmeal or cracker crumbs, fried in the deep well till it floated, laid on a soft bun with tartar sauce and iceberg. 35 cents, steaming when it hit the plate. Then in 1962, a McDonald's franchisee in Cincinnati named Lou Groen launched the Filet-O-Fish to compete for Catholic Friday customers. It went national in 1965. Every counter fish sandwich in America was suddenly competing with a square patty out of a freezer, and the counter lost. Real method. Pat the fish dry, dredge in seasoned flour, dip in beaten egg, coat in cornmeal, fry in 350-degree oil for 3 or 4 minutes till it floats. Cook to 145 internal. Safety catch, and this is the one part you don't skip. Never fill a fry pan more than a third full of oil. Never walk away from it, and keep a lid nearby to smother a fire. Water on burning oil is how houses burn down. A dredge, an egg, some cornmeal, and hot fat. 35 cents. Better than any square patty a chain ever sold you. Number 16, diced cooked chicken, halved red grapes, chopped celery, chopped walnuts, mayonnaise, a squeeze of lemon, salt, pepper. Served on a bed of iceberg on a cold plate, or piled on soft white bread. 40 cents at the counter. A lady's lunch plate, clean, elegant, thrifty, made from the roast chicken that didn't sell Tuesday. Then the prepackaged deli salad tubs took over supermarkets in the 1970s, and chain cafes like Panera, founded 1987 as St. Louis Bread Company, turned the chicken salad sandwich into an $11 menu item. The counter version was the same recipe home cooks had been making since Delmonico's put it on the New York menu in 1896. 2 cups cooked chicken, half cup of halved grapes, half cup of chopped celery, a quarter cup of walnuts, half cup of mayo, lemon, salt. Chill. Same food safety rule as egg salad. 2 hours out of the fridge is the limit. Chicken, grape, nut, mayo. $2 in today's money then. $12 now. Second pattern break. You notice yet how many of these got replaced by something in a plastic tub, a frozen tray, or a paper sleeve? Every one. Swanson in 53, Kraft Singles in 49, Sara Lee in 49, Filet of fish in 62. Somebody spent 30 years figuring out how to sell you a worse version of what a counter cook made for a quarter, and they succeeded. Now the good stuff's coming. The desserts, the drinks, the things a modern kitchen has forgotten how to touch. Number 14 is the one they worked hardest to make you forget. Number 15, a whole plate. Roast chicken with sage dressing, cranberry sauce, creamed potatoes, buttered English peas, a wedge of iceberg with tomato, corn sticks, butter, and rolls. Documented on a 1931 Crest dime store lunch counter menu at 25 cents. Woolworths ran the same plate at the same price. That's about $5 in today's money for a full hot lunch. Then Swanson's frozen dinner in 1953 sold the same plate for 49 cents in your freezer. And by 1970, the American Blue Plate, hot food, real portions, one price, was gone from downtown counters and shifted to Denny's and IHOP, charging 4 times more. The record's clear. Balanced meal guidance from every land-grant extension service in the country still recommends exactly this composition: protein, starch, 2 vegetables, bread. The Blue Plate wasn't just cheap, it was right. Cook chicken to 165 internal, keep the plate hot, and you've got the same lunch a Kansas bookkeeper ate for a quarter. A whole hot lunch, 25 cents. Nobody serves it anymore because nobody could make money on it. Number 14, here it is. This is the one I teased. Beef tongue, brined for a week in salt and pickling spice, simmered 4 hours till fork tender, peeled, sliced paper thin against the grain, piled on rye with brown mustard and a slice of raw onion. A staple at Woolworths counters in immigrant-heavy cities, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, clear through the 1960s. 40 cents. Then 2 things ended it. The health department in most states tightened rules through the 1970s on cured meats prepared and held at lunch counters, mostly around holding temperature and cross-contamination on organ meats. And the American palate turned. By 1985, no lunch counter in America was slicing tongue for a sandwich. Today it survives at 2 delis in Manhattan and charges $18. Honest note, nobody at the counter loved tongue because it was fancy. They loved it because it was cheap protein that fed a working man's shift. Done right, cold brined a week, simmered slow, sliced against the grain, it tastes like the best roast beef you ever had. I'm not saying make it tomorrow. I'm saying it was on that counter, it fed people, and it's forgotten because we got squeamish. Number 13, dried, salt-cured beef, torn into strips, folded into a white gravy made from butter, flour, and whole milk, ladled over 2 slices of toasted white bread, 35 cents. Called SOS in the service, called dinner at every dime store counter from Buffalo to Bakersfield. Then the frozen cream mill aisle absorbed it. Stouffer's ran a version in a boil-in bag from the 1970s, and the chip beef counter tradition died in the freezer case. Real method: 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, cook 2 minutes to lose the raw taste, whisk in 2 cups of whole milk, simmer till it coats the spoon. Tear in 4 ounces of dried beef, pour over toast. Safety catch: milk sauces are a bacterial risk if held warm too long. Serve within an hour or chill it fast. A roux, some torn beef, toast. Fed a truck driver through a snowstorm for 35 cents. Number 12, tuna salad. 1 can of tuna, 3 tablespoons of mayo, a spoon of pickle relish, a little chopped celery. Piled on white bread, topped with a slice of American cheese, grilled on the flat top till the cheese melted and the bread went gold. 40 cents. Then Star-Kissed and Bumblebee locked up the canned tuna market in the 1960s and started marketing tuna as something you eat straight from the can with crackers at your desk. The counter melt lost its purpose. Today, an artisan cafe will charge you $13 for the same sandwich. Same food safety rule as egg salad and ham salad. Mayo salads, out of the fridge more than 2 hours, throw them out. That's the one part you don't skip. Tuna, mayo, cheese, griddle. 40 cents. Number 11. Every plate came with a garnish that wasn't a garnish. A crisp dill pickle spear cut from a big glass jar under the counter, and a scoop of vinegar coleslaw made fresh that morning from shredded cabbage, cider vinegar, sugar, and a little celery seed. Free with a sandwich. Nobody paid extra. Then chain restaurants unbundled the sides in the 1980s and started charging separately. And the packaged coleslaw industry sold supermarkets a plastic tub of white, gluey mayo slaw that had nothing to do with what the counter served. Real vinegar slaw. Half a head of shredded cabbage, half a cup of cider vinegar, a quarter cup of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of celery seed. Toss, refrigerate 2 hours. Safety catch on home canning if you preserve pickles. Low-acid vegetables need pressure canning or a tested acid-brine ratio. Don't guess. Follow a tested recipe from your state extension service. That's the one part you don't skip. Free with a sandwich. Now they charge you $3 for a bad version. Third pattern break. Notice the pattern? Every one of these got either frozen, packaged, or franchised out from under-the-counter cook. Sara Lee took the pie, Swanson took the plate, Kraft took the cheese, McDonald's took the fish. Somebody took every single thing on the menu and made you buy it back worse. Now we're in the top 10. This is where the counter's soul lived. Number 10. A dense New York-style baked cheesecake. Cream cheese, eggs, sugar, a splash of vanilla on a graham crust, baked in a water bath the night before by the counter's morning shift, sliced and set under a dome. 30 cents a slice in 1960. Here's my grace beat. I tried to bake Eli's cheesecake the first winter after he passed, in 1988. 20 years old. Followed the journal exact. Pulled it out, and the top had cracked clear across, corner to corner. I sat there in the cabin and cried like a fool over a cracked cheesecake. Then I read the next line in his journal, which said, "If it cracks, brush the top with sour cream and call it a design choice." That's the old man. Failure was never shameful in his kitchen. He'd have laughed at me. Then chain restaurants and premium bakery brands took over cheesecake through the 1980s, and today a slice runs you $9. Real method. 2 pounds of cream cheese, a cup of sugar, 4 eggs, vanilla, sour cream, baked at 325 in a water bath till the center just barely jiggles. Chill overnight. Safety. Pasteurized dairy chill promptly, a slice under a dome. 30 cents. Now $9 and worse. Number 9. 3 scoops, vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. Down a split banana in a long boat-shaped dish. 3 sauces, hot fudge, strawberry, pineapple. Whipped cream, chopped nuts. 3 maraschino cherries. 50 cents at the Woolworths fountain in 1955. A birthday for a dime store kid. Then Dairy Queen and Baskin-Robbins expanded through the 1960s and 1970s and took the specialty sundae business off the Main Street counter and put it in a strip mall. Today, a signature banana split at a chain runs you $12. The counter version was better. Because the ice cream was hard, the fudge was homemade in a small pot behind the counter, and the fountain guy built it in front of you. A ceremony, a show. 50 cents, 3 scoops, ceremony, gone. Number 8, not a cherry Coke out of a can, a cherry Coke built at the fountain. A shot of Coca-Cola syrup from a hand pump, a shot of cherry syrup, filled with cold soda water from the tap, ice, a maraschino cherry on top, a dime. Every counter had one. Ordered it, and the fountain guy built it in a bell-shaped glass in about 8 seconds. Then Coca-Cola launched pre-mixed cherry Coke in 1985 in an aluminum can, and by 1990, nobody was pumping syrup at a counter anymore. The whole fountain trade, the hiss of the soda water, the smell of the syrup, went dead. Modern vindication is right there in every craft soda bar in Brooklyn charging $6 for exactly this. A shot of syrup, a splash of cherry, soda water, ice. That's the whole recipe. Nobody hid it. They just stopped doing it. A dime, a hiss, a bell glass. Gone. Number 7, ground beef, breadcrumbs, an egg, chopped onion, ketchup on top, baked in a loaf pan and sliced thick for the lunch rush. Served with mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and green beans. 65 cents in 1959. A working man's plate that came out of an oven, not a freezer. Then Swanson and Banquet turned meatloaf into a frozen tray by 1965, and every American learned to eat meatloaf out of foil instead of off a counter. The chain diners. Denny's opened 1953, IHOP opened 1958, picked up what was left. Real method, 1.5 pounds of ground beef, half a cup of breadcrumbs soaked in a 1/4 cup of milk, 1 egg, half an onion chopped fine, salt, pepper, a 1/4 cup of ketchup on top. Bake at 350 for an hour till the internal temp hits 160. Slice thick. Meat, bread, egg, onion. 65 cents. Now they charge you 16 at a chain and it came off a truck. Number 6, here's my second teaser paying off. Cake donuts, flour, sugar, baking powder, egg, milk, nutmeg, mixed and cut and dropped into a well of hot lard behind the counter every morning at 5:30, rolled in cinnamon sugar. 5 cents a piece in 1955, a dozen for 50. Then in 1911, Procter & Gamble put Crisco on the shelf and spent 60 years telling America that lard would kill you. By the 1970s, no lunch counter in the country was frying donuts in lard. They were frying them in hydrogenated vegetable shortening, which the Food and Drug Administration finally banned as a trans fat source in 2018. Penn State published in 2018 that lard's fatty acid profile, high in monounsaturates, low in trans fats, is healthier than the partially hydrogenated shortening that replaced it. The record reversed itself. The donut Ruth Delaney ate at the Woolworths counter in 1955 was better for her than the one a chain sells you today. Safety catch, and this is the one part you don't skip. Rendering and boiling fat is how kitchens burn down. Never fill a pot more than 1/3. Never leave it. Lid nearby. Water on a grease fire is death. 5 cents. Fried in lard. Better than what replaced it. The record says so. 4th pattern break. You hear that? A university confirmed the counter cook was right and the food industry was wrong. That's not nostalgia, friend. That's the record catching up. 5 to go. Number 5. Tomato juice, gelatin, a little vinegar, celery, olives, sometimes shrimp, chilled in a ring mold and unmolded onto iceberg with a dollop of mayo. 40 cents. A ladies' lunch fixture on every Woolworths counter from 1940 to 1970. Then the ambient temperature convenient salad. Bagged lettuce with a dressing packet took over the 1980s, and gelatin savory salads became a punchline in food magazines. Today, Aspic survives on 2 Southern menus and charges $14. Honest note, this is a lost taste for most Americans. Made right, real tomato juice reduced with celery and bay, unflavored gelatin, no sugar. It's savory, cold, and clean. Nothing like the sweet Jell-O molds it got confused with. 40 cents. A ring mold. A lost course. Number 4. A ceramic mug, a nickel, black coffee brewed strong in a big urn on the back counter, refilled without asking as long as you sat on the stool. That was the deal. A working man could nurse a cup for an hour and read the paper for a nickel. Then in 1971, Starbucks opened in Seattle, and by 1987, Howard Schultz bought it and expanded it into what we have now. A $4 cup of coffee sold as an experience. The counter coffee, cheap, refilled, no questions, is gone. One dignity note. On February 1, 1960, 4 college students sat down at the Woolworths lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina, and asked to be served coffee. What happened after that is American history, and it's why that counter still stands, saved, in a museum in Greensboro today. I'll leave the telling of it to better keepers than me. But the counter mattered. It mattered enough that people risked everything to sit at it. A nickel. Bottomless. And once, a whole country turned on what it meant. Number 3. Here's the third teaser paying off. Almost nobody alive still makes it right. An egg cream, no egg, no cream, don't ask, is cold whole milk, a pump of chocolate syrup, Fotz's You Bet if you were a purist, and a hard shot of seltzer from a pressure gun, stirred fast with a long spoon to build a white foam head an inch thick. 15 cents. A New York and Philadelphia counter classic that spread everywhere Woolworths put down stools. Then the pressurized soda gun disappeared from counters when the counters closed, and the egg cream became a museum drink. You cannot get one at a chain. Not one. It exists in maybe 4 delis in Brooklyn and 1 soda fountain in Philadelphia. Real method. An inch of cold, whole milk in a tall glass. 2 tablespoons of chocolate syrup. Fill fast with seltzer from a chilled bottle held 6 inches above. Stir like you mean it. The foam is the point. If you don't have foam, you didn't stir fast enough. 15 cents. Foam an inch thick. Almost nobody left who knows. Number 2. The dome next to the pie. Rice pudding, made in a big pot in the back, long grain rice, whole milk, sugar, egg yolks, vanilla, a scrape of nutmeg on top, baked slow till a skin formed. Served warm in a heavy white bowl, 20 cents. The dessert your grandmother ordered when she didn't want pie. Then Cozy Shack put refrigerated rice pudding in a plastic tub in 1967. And by 1985, every supermarket dairy case sold it. And no counter in America was baking it fresh anymore. Today, Cozy Shack still owns the market, and the counter version is gone. Real method. Half a cup of long grain rice, 4 cups of whole milk, half a cup of sugar, 2 egg yolks, vanilla, a pinch of salt, baked at 325 for 2 hours, stirred once. Nutmeg on top. Chill or serve warm. Same milk sauce safety catch. Don't hold warm dairy too long. Under the second dome, 20 cents. Warm, nutmeg. gone. Number one isn't a dish. It's the thing every plate above it was pointing at. Number one is the American lunch counter itself. 48 stools. A grill man in a white paper hat. A counter girl who knew your name. Pies under domes. A pot of coffee that never emptied. A whole hot meal for under $1, cooked in front of you by a person on a main street in a town where you knew the mayor. That's what we lost. Not a sandwich. A place. Ruth Delaney sat down on that red stool on East Douglas in Wichita in 1955, and every stool around her was full. 20 years later, in 1975, the counter still ran, but half the stools were empty by noon. In 1990, that Wichita Woolworths closed. On July 17, 1997, the last Woolworths counter in America, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, served its last cup of coffee and went dark. Nobody banned the counter, friend. Kmart opened in 1962. Walmart opened in 1962. Target opened in 1962, same year. 3 chains that didn't want you sitting for an hour with a nickel coffee. They wanted you moving through an aisle, moving through a drive-through, moving on. The counter was never poor food. The counter was fed food, cooked food, named food. And somebody made a fortune the day America stood up off the stool. Now, I'll be straight with you before we close this out. I'm not selling you fear. I'm not telling you the world's ending because a lunch counter closed. This isn't doomer talk. It's a menu. It's a menu of things a country used to cook for itself and forgot how. And on the food safety side, some of what's on this list, the mayo salads, the milk sauces, the home canned pickles, has a real line you don't cross. I told you where the line was on each one. That's the honest part. Now, pick one. Just one. This week. Butter 2 slices of white bread and grill a real grilled cheese with real cheese off a block. Or spin yourself a chocolate malt in the blender, 3 scoops of hard vanilla, cold whole milk, a heavy pour of chocolate syrup, 90 seconds, poured tall. Or bake a pie in a cast iron skillet with real lard in the crust. One thing from the counter this week. I made a pot of rice pudding myself this fall, the way Eli wrote it down in '62. Baked it 2 hours, stirred it once, nutmeg on top. Ate it warm out of a heavy white bowl at the cabin, and it tasted like every counter I ever sat at as a boy. Now tell me down below, did your grandmother ever take you to a Woolworths counter? What did she order? What did you? The one that gets the most comments is the one I do next. A whole counter's worth of knowing, disappearing one stool at a time. Now you're one of the keepers. Next time on this channel, I'm counting down the 25 forgotten Depression-era pantry staples that fed a family of 10 through the winter of '36 on less than $1 a week. And the year the supermarket chains made sure you'd forget they were ever in your grandmother's cupboard. One of them, the food companies spent 40 years trying to convince you was garbage. The record's turned. I'll show you. If you're new to the Ridge and you want the old ways kept, you know what to do. This is a mission, one kitchen at a time. Keep the old ways. They kept